All right, J.Lately, the one and only man. How's it going? Thanks for swinging by.
Going good, man. Happy to be here. Happy to be here.
Yeah, we're 1 week, just about 1 week removed from Breakfast coming out, right?
Yep.
All right, so it's out in the world. How does it? We're post release party. I got the shirt to prove it.
Love it,
How
man.
does it feel to have it out in the world?
It feels great, dude. It feels great. It's such a it's a weird thing like making the music because like I've had this music in my life for like a year now,
Yeah,
and then I just kind of have to sit on it, and so it feels so good to be able to share it with people and get to hear people's reactions and see people experience the music.
yeah, totally. And yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, just I feel like things always look and feel and sound different, even like after a night's sleep, like let alone working on something like a single project for months at a time. So it must be, a real like evolution to see that all come together. But just like speaking on behalf of the album club, quote unquote album club, people have, their own like personal connection and story to the music, which has been really cool to like unpack a little bit. So, yeah, cheers. It's an awesome record. It's been fun to have it on repeat like throughout this whole project. So a big congratulations there.
Thank you, dude. Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So uh, we ask the hard hitting questions here. No one gets by easy. So we'll talk about breakfast, the meal to start.
All right.
You've been putting up some videos of just food you've been preparing. What's been the winner so far?
Huh. I think this is like a cheap one, but the breakfast quesadilla is like it's hard to beat that in my opinion. I think quesadillas are hard to beat across the board, but
Yeah,
that one,
you got the. Oh,
yeah,
sorry. Yeah, you got a mix. I think I saw an acai bowl in there too. So little healthy,
yeah,
little tortilla wrap something.
yeah. Had to mix it
Yeah,
up.
but I think the end all. Correct me if I'm wrong. The end all be all for you is the breakfast burrito, right?
Yes, it is. Although the breakfast quesadilla, is making a run for the money right now.
Making a push. Yeah.
The breakfast burrito though is my favorite. That's like my go-to when I go out somewhere. Like if I see that on the menu at breakfast, if I'm eating out and I see that on the menu, I'm definitely getting the breakfast burrito. But they don't usually have a breakfast quesadilla on the menu. So
That's
if I
true.
see that now, I'm probably gonna start going with that one.
Yeah, that's when you typically gotta make yourself. I don't know if I've ever seen a breakfast quesadilla on a menu.
I haven't, but someone should definitely put it on their menu.
Yeah, you heard it here first. Do you have a go-to breakfast or breakfast burrito? Sorry, place in Oakland.
You know, I don't really because like one of my favorite things to do is cook breakfast. So I rarely go out for breakfast. Like I'll go out for dinner way more than I'll go out for breakfast just because I enjoy making it so much. Um, I couldn't even tell you like my go-to. I don't even know the name of the spot up. There's somewhere up the street, kind of. Oh, Diggory Inn
Degree in.
in
Okay.
Oakland is probably the spot I've been to the most recently. But I barely ever go out to breakfast just because I like cooking it so much.
Yeah, fair enough. Do you have any like hot takes on breakfast burritos? Like for example, I had a breakfast burrito with fries in it for the first time, like recently, and it was different.
Uh-huh.
And I feel like that's a polarizing one. I feel like there's that like dousing something in hot sauce or whatever. Like, do you have any like I'm gonna die on the hill of XYZ is essential?
I would say if there's not some type of potato in it, I don't
Really?
want it.
Okay.
Yeah, like I would be excited about the French fry. I would be. I'm a huge fan of the. I think that's what like separates it from a regular. Obviously eggs, I guess, but it's something about the potatoes in there that I gotta have.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so I won't take, send us too far down this rabbit hole, but I've been seeing videos of burritos with fries in them on Instagram for a year or something. Like, so I finally had one, and I kind of like opened it up or took a bite, and I was like, I almost like didn't know what to do with it, and it wasn't bad. Like I didn't dislike it. It was just like a completely different experience.
I think that's like the classic. I might be wrong here, but I think it's like a classic San Diego burrito. Is like they always put their fries in the burrito. I'm probably gonna have someone tell me I'm
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah, people are going to be coming out the woodwork on
Yeah.
burrito etiquette here. Well, like I said, that's the I think we covered, the important stuff for this
For sure.
conversation. All right, so you know, our whole premise with the book club for music thing. Well, we kind of have two. So the first of which is like every body of work is someone's favorite. So kind of like approach it from like an appreciation standpoint. And the other side of the coin, so to speak, is really trying to like explore how people connect personally to a record. Like, what's your personal story with this body of work? So, a lot of the questions I have are kind of going to, get at that latter one. Like, how are you personally relating to the music, and helping other people, sorry, piece their own experience in as well. So that's kind of what I'm getting at here. But the first question I actually have is about breakfast, and you had a line in there about just like quiet moments and having perspective. And I think like maybe even following an album release is like kind of a good time to ask that question. Like, how do you struggle to keep perspective when you're like in the weeds of making music? Do you have anything that like helps you reset? I know see the gardening video, so maybe that, but curious like how that line comes into your life.
Yeah, big time. I mean, I think that's something I struggle with a lot, is like maintaining that perspective, just because I get so caught up in this, like when you're shooting for a really lofty goal and you're really trying to achieve something that's very difficult to achieve, you almost have to approach it like nothing is ever success. Almost like there's always something I could be doing better. I'm never where I need to be. And so like I feel like there's got to be a piece of you that's always striving for better, in order to achieve these big goals. But with that comes kind of this heavy mental load of never getting to feel at peace with yourself or where you're at. So I think, the things that I've learned that really help me do that are things. One, cooking. Like, cooking is a huge thing. Like, it's just, there's something about that like therapeutic process for me of just making something and taking that time and chopping things up and, putting them on the stove and et cetera, et cetera. And then I think, I recently moved into this house that has a yard now. And so I've been out in the garden and out in the yard, and that kind of does the same thing for me, I've noticed. And then the other one that I've always kind of relied on is exercise, honestly. Like, it's just one of, like, I say exercise is the number one fighter of depression in my mind. Like, or at least for me, I know if I'm feeling shitty, go exercise. Go like sweat it out, and there's like a 95% chance I'm gonna at least feel a little bit better, if not a lot better, after doing that. So those are kind of like my three things that I've learned. That they're like easy fixes for me. They don't always solve the complex issue, but it's an easy fix for me at the moment.
Yeah, yeah, totally. It's funny you mentioned exercise. Or exercise is like I'll linger on that one for a moment. I listened to a podcast by a neurobiologist. I might get the terminology like ever so slightly off there, but some brain scientist literally at Stanford, and I understand very little of it, but it's just like really cool to hear how the brain works in a lot of ways. And I was listening to an episode today about the importance of exercise, and he was basically saying like if you were to pick, again, I'm not a doctor, but if you were to pick one thing to do like for the rest of your life that would significantly improve like the length, quality of your life in the long term, it's exercise. And like I even skipped the gym yesterday, and you like really feel the residual effects, like the cobwebs. I mean, so to speak, like kind of real in a lot of ways. So anyway, there's a lot of like even evidence to back that piece up.
Yeah.
But it's almost interesting. Like all three of those things were like. I'm trying to think about how to say, like, you're engaged enough to complete like a really discrete goal immediately, but also like you're also like disengaged in some way. Like you don't have to, chopping doesn't require like taking a test or something. Yeah. So I wonder if there's almost like something in that reset, but it's kind of
There's
interesting.
also
Like,
something about it, talking about it that I just kind of realized is they're all so simple too. Like there's nothing crazy about cooking a meal or watering a plant or running on a treadmill or running up and down your block. Like it's like sometimes we get so caught up, like our problems are so difficult to solve,
Mm,
but sometimes it's just those easy, like it's like those what am I looking at? Like those simple human things, or those simple, just kind of like uh, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but it's just the simplicity of it, kind of, that it's kind of amazing to me that something so simple can solve so much
yeah.
complexity in your life.
But yeah, all super simple, but like a really a help, a healthy reset, right? Um,
Right.
and I don't know about you. I was thinking the other day. I don't know if you've ever had this thought, but the other day about like goals that are actionable and achievable. And sometimes and again, I might just be projecting here, but I feel like sometimes there's a like we're predisposed to pick sometimes like the hardest possible thing, which there's an ambition piece to that, which is healthy and like striving to be your best. But I think it's also really easy to lose the forest, whatever the phrase is, forest from the trees, in that
Yes.
way. And there's just got to be a balance there. And so anyway, I thought the line about the perspective was kind of just an interesting one to unpack there.
Yeah, I think, honestly, I think that line kind of sums up what the Breakfast album is to me the most. It's like this idea of kind of like finding that peace, or finding that belonging, or place of comfort, or that perspective, kind of, in that,
Yeah.
and being able to sit in it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And and it's not always comfortable either. Like I think the sitting in it, so to speak, point is like really important too. Because if like there's also some part of that that require you got to work through it too, right? And
Right,
maybe something helpful on the other end, but always a balance.
right.
Um, but anyway, really again, just seemed relevant. Um, so not to totally pepper you with questions here, but pictures. That was a single that came out a little while ago, right? We've been
Yeah, that was the first single I released off
Oh,
of
the
it.
first one. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So I thought I think the line was pictures over plaques, or I'm paraphrasing there.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, who are some of the people? Again, I think you talk about inspiration in there as well. Who are some people that have inspired you along the way? And at the risk of rambling a little bit, one kind of like intent behind that question is I've found just for me personally with this project, like having people not too far away that can push you and inspire and like keep you going when it's a grind has been really valuable and important. So I'm just curious if there's anyone that you like really lean on in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I was younger, I always kind of gravitated to looking up to athletes and musicians.
Mm,
Like that's what who I looked at, and kind of idolized, and wanted to be like, and took inspiration from. But as I've gotten older, it's switched a lot more to just like my idols are my friends and my
yeah.
family, and like the people who are actually in my life, and those are the people that inspire me, and those are the people that I'm like so like blown away by, or impressed by, or like when I hear certain things about, like, what some of my friends have been going through, and
Mm,
yet they are still doing these amazing things, or yet they're still carrying themselves in such loving and respectful and friendly manners, despite all these different things they're going through. I think that has really become, like, I couldn't tell you anyone that I really look up to who I don't know personally anymore. Like,
that's awesome.
it's my parents and my friends and my brother and my cousins, and that's who it is. And there's not a single one that I'm like, this, like, the one is my mom. Like, if I'm choosing one, it's my mom.
Yeah.
Um, but it's pieces of everyone. Like, and then also, just like regular everyday humans. Like, I love just like taking in what's going on around me. Like, one of my favorite things, when I love going to restaurants by myself, actually, and
Yeah.
just sitting there and taking things in, and kind of observing people. And I'm always just kind of so blown away
Mm.
by the love and care and generosity that people have, despite the multitude of things that they're going through that may be much harder than what I'm going through.
Yeah, and that kind of even goes back to the perspective question.
Right.
But that's so rad. The idea that like all of your superheroes, so to speak, are within arm's reach. Like
Right.
that's a super cool sentiment.
And I feel I feel so lucky
Yeah,
that I have all
yeah.
these amazing people around me, you know?
Yeah, totally. This is kind of semi-related, but I follow an artist. Their name is escaping me on Twitter, and they put something out the other day that was like almost exactly aligned with what you're saying. It was something, I'm paraphrasing, something to the effect of like, I'm so like blown away to see the people around me like doing groundbreaking things every day. And I just think that's like I think it's a real superpower, right? Like just you have people in your corner. That so anyway,
Yeah.
it's really cool. I think creative and successful people like have that cohort.
And you know, I think, or maybe I'm just really lucky, but I think a lot of us have some very amazing people around us, and sometimes it takes a little bit like stepping out of ourselves to
Yeah,
realize. Sometimes it's too close to home to like realize or whatever, but
yeah.
when you can kind of step back and get that perspective, you can realize like, wow, like I'm lucky to have this right here, you know?
Yeah, totally. And just speaking of speaking of moms as superheroes, my mom dropped off like just spaghetti sauce the other day,
Nice.
and I haven't had to make dinner this week as a result, and it's been like a huge mental load off the table, so to speak. So anyway, just like these small things that you know,
Shout
mom's
out
saving the
moms,
day.
man.
Yeah. So that's an interesting. So I'll kind of like pivot ever so slightly. Speaking to just for one of these interviews, and another artist who had something in one of her songs that she called like just basically referred to small moments of beauty in the day to day, and I think that's like kind of relevant to what we're talking about. I was going to ask you later, but maybe because we're talking about it now,
Right.
I'm curious if there's been any like small wins, small like moments that have just made you step back and be like, wow, this is outstanding or beautiful. And maybe I'll again rambling a little bit here, but like an example, I take the bus in the mornings, and I'm normally like all stressed out, like tweaking to get to the bus on time, and I missed it today.
Mhm.
And normally that would be like super stressful or really annoying. But I found that like as a result, there was nothing to do but wait and just like be present for a moment.
Yeah.
I thought that was like a really cool thing that happened. So again, we've talked a lot about perspective and like small superheroes in arm's reach and like all that kind of stuff. So I'm curious if there's anything that comes to mind.
You know, it's just something that just kind of pops into my head when you said that. I was recently in Greece. I was on my honeymoon in Greece, traveling around the islands and stuff. And it was like, I don't know what it was, but every single person who drove us anywhere was
Mm,
just amazing. Like it was I don't know if it's just like to be like, it's either like taxi drivers or like these kind of like personal, like your hotel or your Airbnb or something. They would hook you up with a driver to get you to the airport
mm,
or whatever. And like every single one of them just kind of like went that extra step without doing too much, without being like crazy, without,
yeah.
like nothing crazy, but just like, I don't know. It's this thing of like when people make me feel comfortable, it goes a long way for me. Like I really appreciate when people go, make me feel comfortable. And I think we all do, but I've started to
Hmm.
really take note of it and realize that. And there was something about each one of these people that was transporting me and my wife everywhere that was just like, I just felt comfortable with them. And it was so small. It's not like they did anything big. It was just them being these kind of generous, caring, nice people. But that's what pops in my mind.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good one. Um, Maybe the Mediterranean sun or something like that. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I can make
I
him just a little bit happier too,
yeah, a little bit goes a long way. No, but kidding aside, I mean that's a great one.
Yeah.
And funny, kind of just like side comment. Speaking of of Greece, I think it was on either TikTok or Instagram. One of the people who joined the album club said they found that song. I think it was via TikTok, kind of randomly. So shout out to TikTok for
Run
bringing
that TikTok.
fans
Keep
and
running it up for me.
yeah. Okay, so I want to make sure I keep you on time here. Um, And kind of two last questions. So again, I think I mentioned it earlier, but like part of the goal of this project is to kind of help people connect with the music on maybe just a little bit of a deeper level than you would if you're kind of just rolling through a playlist or whatever. So I'm curious, do you have anything you would recommend to maybe a new listener of yours to help them connect with the project on a deeper level? Maybe it's a question, maybe it's like, you know, something to reflect on. Maybe it's just coffee and breakfast. But anything that may help people, again, kind of just get that one level.
Yeah, I think something you said earlier about like one of your missions too, or goals with this project is to be able to help people kind of make the music their own.
Mm.
And I think that's something that's really important to me, and something that I kind of like offer up for my listeners to do is like when you listen to my music, I want it to be about your experience.
Mm.
I
Hmm.
don't want, I try not to write music that's like, I know I'm writing about myself, but I want it to be about our experience. And I want you to be able to listen to it and connect it to yourself. And like, it, just because I might be talking about one thing and you didn't do this exact thing does not mean that it doesn't apply directly to you and what you're doing over here. Like, I want my listeners to to interpret it however they want to interpret it, and however they need to interpret it, or however it
Yeah.
naturally comes. Like sometimes I have a hard time when people ask me what this song is about, because I'm like, well, let me ask you what this song is about, because
Yeah.
perception is reality, right? And it's the way that this song hits you. That's what it's about. Like, it's not about what I was thinking when I wrote this. It's about what you heard when you listened to it.
Hmm.
And so that's kind of what I ask people to listen to my music with in mind. And I think um, it will be able to kind of hit you a little bit harder when you think about it in those terms.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. That's a great one. Because you're right. Like, in a lot of ways, it's all so circumstantial, right? Like the way you hear something in any given day
Right.
is a culmination of everything that happened, like to that point, and
Right.
it's, you know, different every single time. So anyway, I think that's a really cool perspective. If I can sneak one more question in there,
Yeah.
one thing I'm always curious to hear about is, you know, I don't write music. So like what's your creative process? Do you like gravitate towards a physical space or kind of just a mentality? Like when you're putting pen to paper, how do you work through that?
I think it's constantly changing. I think I don't like that's something I need. I think is that kind of diversity of inspiration and environment
Yeah.
and whatever. And so I don't like to be locked into like one place, or I will be for 2 weeks. I'm like, this is great. This room is great. Like I'm knocking them out right here. But then I run out of inspiration in
Hmm.
that setting, and I need to change it or experience some different things. So I think that's one of the big things for me is having that like input of inspiration and input of stimulation of some sort, kind
Yeah.
of, uh, to be able to pull all these different things out of me, so that it's not just the same thing being pulled out of me over and over, or the same thing being ignited inside of me over and
Yeah.
over. I'm getting different experiences that then are pulling this out and pulling that out, and that's how you kind of form the whole.
Yeah, totally. I love that phrase "ignited inside of you." That's really cool. I think it kind of captures like, you know, the spirit of the project and
Yeah.
whatnot. So and it's funny. I think so. I asked someone else that question along the way, and the response was basically the response. I think verbatim was, I live life,"
Right.
and I found that like so. Number one, it seems like that's a recurring theme. And number two, I found that just like really striking, and in your answer as well, because I don't know where I picked it up, but I think somewhere along the way I just assumed that like the writing process would be this really like tortured is too strong of a word, but this like really rigorous process of like, you know, structure and whatnot. And the response, like I said, I've asked the question a couple times, and it's been the exact opposite of what I expected. And it's just kind of this like really
Right.
fluid like capturing of the moment. So anyway, I just think that's really
Honestly,
cool.
like my best stuff is the stuff that came the easiest.
Mm, mm,
Like some of my songs that I think really connect with people are ones that just kind of flowed right out of me without thinking about. And there's
Interesting.
something about that I don't think is a coincidence, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, totally. This is a weird question and maybe a reflection of just like me even kind of being in the weeds a little bit here, but like so the best stuff comes easiest. Do you ever like is there any, for lack of a better phrase, like trust issue if something like requires more work to get there? Or is that just overthinking the whole process?
What do you mean? What do you mean exactly?
Like so if you're reading a song back or like recording something, do you ever look at a lyric through a different light if it was a more rigorous, structured, time-consuming process to get to a line versus something coming like naturally and easily?
No, I don't think I do. I'm just happy when I like the line. Like
Yeah, yeah.
if it comes out good, it comes out good. Like there's actually one line on it that it's funny that you asked that because that first song, Breakfast, right? That first line that you talked about is the opening line of my verse that says, "Up early, I'm cool with cooking breakfast. Or quiet moments can give you the most perspective." The I couldn't come up with the last. That line came out of me like just right out of me.
Nice.
The last line of that song in my second verse, like I couldn't figure out how to finish that verse. Um,
Hmm.
and then I don't know what it was, but it went unfinished for days. Like the song was almost finished, but I stepped away from it for a while. Then I came back to it one day, and finally I figured out this line: "Every day is a new one, and I'm up just like it's 2-1." And I love that line. That's like one of my favorite lines. I put it. It's actually
It's on the
yours.
shirt. Yeah.
um, but that was that line. Not that I like drafted it and crafted it, but it took me a long time for that line to come out of me. And that's one of my like those two lines are both my favorite lines in that song,
Yeah.
and they both came very differently to me.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, that's super. And I get as I was saying that I think as I kind of thought about the question after I asked it, I think I almost have I really just like hearing that people kind of go through different processes here because I actually write a lot for the day job, and I actually have maybe like a weird predisposition to like if something happens fast, I almost assume it's like that it just requires more work.
Right.
And I think I'm just like I said, almost processing that myself now as we're talking about it. But anyway, weird
Yeah.
tangent. I
Maybe
said,
maybe try to like reframe that and think,
yeah,
like
yeah,
it came fast. Maybe it's meant to be, and it was just already there, and it's right. Maybe it's right.
totally,
Maybe
yeah.
it's right. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's again kind of interesting to even talk about it because I think that's on some level I just assumed that that's how it went, and other people have different processes, so it's kind of interesting to hear about that. Um, well, I said two questions. I think I snuck in like five, but the last one I promise is what's coming up next? What do you want to plug? I know you got a show on the 9th, but what do people need to know about?
Yeah, we that's the first one. We have a show in Berkeley at Cornerstone on September 9th with Eloy Gino, Ian Kelly, and Pussy. And my DJ Stevie Boy Music's going to be holding down the tables all night. So I'm really excited about that. Like I love every single person that's on the bill. It was one of those ones that we put together by hand. Like it wasn't, the
Mm,
promoter didn't add us all together or anything. It was us coming together and deciding we wanted to throw a show together. Just because we love and respect each other's work. So I'm really excited about that one. And then beyond that, like there's going to be new music coming, but I want to give people time to sit with this album and continue to kind of facilitate that. It's almost like the music world moves so quickly now that like it's almost like all right, the album's out, cool. Like what's coming, and it's like, well, have you even like taken this in?
yeah.
So I've been continuing to try to think of ways that I can kind of facilitate this listening process and this
Hmm.
process of people being able to take in songs and make sure that these songs really get their time or their attention. So I'm just going to continue focusing on the album for a little while, but
Nice.
you know, in the whole time, like I never stop writing, I never stop creating throughout the whole process. So there's already songs, ready or almost ready to follow up, but nothing that I can quite say publicly yet.
Yeah, already. No, I'm kidding. That was low hanging fruit. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm biased, but you're speaking my language. I think the consumption nowadays is just so rapid. I mean, just like
Right.
scrolling through every feed, and I think we're kind of going in the. And I say we, I mean like I won't speak for you, but like our project is kind of going in a different direction and kind of go against the grain in that regard. Like we have the whole week,
Right.
which compared to milliseconds is orders of magnitude on a different. So we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, I hear you on that one. Well, thank you for your time. I know there was, I'm sure, a lot of other ways you could have spent this time. The record's awesome, so thanks for talking to us a little bit about it. It's been a blast.
Of course, man. It's my pleasure, dude. I love just connecting with anybody that is going to engage with this music on such a deep level, and I appreciate you for taking time out of your day. Like you said, I know you got a day job and all that, and the fact that you put this time in outside of that and put this care and effort in outside of that means a lot to us artists and to the artist community, I think. So from all of
Totally.
us to you, thank you.
Yeah. Well, it's an honor. And hey, we're donating some trees while we're at it. So
Hey,
listening to great music and trying to make a little bit of a positive impact.
hell yeah.
All right. Cheers. Catch you later.
Cheers, man. Thank you. Peace.
Have a good one.